We are back in Python. Practice makes perfects under loops. You can see I did a little bit of it here. I'm actually going to go ahead and redo it. I was having a bunch of trouble with the kitten when I was doing that, so we're just gonna. He was just acting crazy, jumping all over the place, but it should go by pretty quick on these first few. So the first one is just kind of telling us what's going on and that they're gonna contain minimal instructions, meaning they're actually gonna want us to figure it out. What for loops, what if statements that we need to do. So, this is asking us, here, let's actually copy that in case we get stuck. So, def is underscore even, so we need to define a function. It's going to take a parameter x, and if it's even, return true, so x modulo 2 equal to 0. We need an if statement, so if modulo x modulo 2 is equal to 0. So if it is even, return true. And if it's not even, else return false. And make sure false is capitalized. Cool. That's all it is there. So same thing here. Let's take this out. So define function is an int. So this one was a little, I remember having to look this up when I was doing it because it was a little bit tricky. I was getting a little confused with JavaScript at the time, but let's start off with what we know for sure we need to do, which is define the function. And then in here, I was trying to think, is there a type or anything like that? So this right here is saying we can't do that. So what instead it wants us to do is we're going to say if x is equal to x, to int x, meaning that if our value is the same thing as the integer version of that value, it's an int, because we're testing for that. We want to return true. Else return false. Alright, so same thing here, define a function, so def digit sum. And it's going to take in a parameter n. And here's one that I think I was able to do it relatively quickly, but this might be something that may frustrate people. So it says what it wants us to do is convert it into a string and then parse it. So I think it says it in the hint here somewhere. Yeah, so we're going to say n is equal to str n. So what we're doing is we're taking that integer and we're putting it, turning it into a string, some text. So next what we want to do, we're going to do for I in n. So basically for each value in n, we're going to create a total, and let's do it up here. We're going to initialize a blanket total of 0, and then we're going to set total is equal to total plus now we want to turn I back into an integer, and then at the end we want to return the total. Oh, return total. Oops. There we go. Alright, now I believe we are back at it, and this one was I didn't think they wanted us to do it this way, but hey, it works. So alright, so first thing we need to do is define the function. We did that. So let me just explain this code rather than rewriting it. So if you take a factorial of 0, like anything to the 0 power is still 1. So the best way to do that is to set an else if statement so that when it's at 0, return a 1 for that. So in this case, we're actually looping through our x a couple times because we're recalling the same function, and then we're just decrementing it. So say this is 4 times 4 minus 1, that'd be 4 times the third, and then we just keep on looping and looping and looping until we get our answer. So let's just save and submit, and now I think we're caught up. So we're going to define a function called isPrime, so def is underscore prime. It's going to take x as an input, and for each number n from 2 to x minus 1, test if x is evenly divisible by n. If it is, return false. Alright, so is a number for each n from 2 to x minus n. Test of x. Alright, so I think we need an if and an L if. And if this is true, return false. L if this is true, return false. And indent this properly. So I'm just setting this up real quick because I'm probably going to look at the hint in a second. Else, return true. Alright, so define function for each number n from 2. Remember, all numbers less than 2 are not prime numbers. So if for each number n alright, so if from 2 to x, all numbers less than 2 are not prime numbers. So if x, so first one, if, the first easy one is, if x is less than 2, return false. Cool. Now, alright, I know we need to write a for loop here, so let's just check this out real quick. So we need to run a for loop with the end for, do we want to parse? No. Oh. I think what we're going to do here, this is slide 6, is do a for loop. Damn, 50 answers. 76. Whew. Let's see right here. What's going on here? So the first thing, good. And then while n is less than x, and we're going to set n is equal to 1. In this case. Yeah, for loop. Let's see an example here. So if x is less than 2, return false. Else, n is equal to 2 while n is less than x. If x modulo n is exactly equal to 0, return false. Break, n is equal to n plus 1. Test if x is evenly divisible by that. So LF x divided by 2 modulo 2. X modulo for each number n from 2 to x minus 1. So if x modulo n, I just understand where we set n. We just give it a default value. So let's take a look at this. I'm not even sure if this works. So first thing first, let's make sure this works. Oh. Let's actually put this right here. So we did that. Return false. Else n is equal to 2. Okay, so our else statement is actually testing the lowest value for n, which is 2, because starting at 2, and then our else if is x minus 1. So in this case, he just incremented n by 1. Let's see if there's another one. I don't like that. Let's see here. So if this divided by this is equal 0, return false. So what this is saying, if this is perfectly even, return a prime number. It's not a prime number, so it returns false. Then else, break it, and increment n by 1 again. Okay, that kind of makes sense. So this, alright, let's break this down one by one as we integrate it into our own code. So They do a while loop here. I don't exactly like that. So elif. So we're going to say here if x modulo 2 is equal to 0. Actually, let's start from the beginning. So we if else while. I don't like the while loop. Let's get another example. Apparently we're not the only one that struggled with this. It's a lot of code. I don't think it needs to be that code. You know, it's crazy. I've written this like in four different languages too. So let's look at this. So def is prime x count. If x is less than 2, return false. Cool. So we're on track with that. Elif x is equal to 2, return true, because 2 is a prime number, so we can do that. So that makes sense. Remember your prime numbers. And then from there, dang, this guy went all out on this. Alright, so else, if none of them are, return true. Okay, so we have to check the rest of it. So where we're really messing up is in our final else statement. This is what we need to fix. So we need to do a for loop. So let's integrate this part into our code. This may seem a little bit cheating, but hey, count is less than 3. I don't remember. Oh, counts are n. And do we integrate count? We set count to 0. So at the top of here, we'll set count to 0. And let's see here. Okay, so let's break this down real quick, because the bigger bulk of this code we kind of copied from the Q&A form. So what's going on here is we're testing to see if there's a prime number. First line, define the function, take a parameter. We create an empty variable count, and we set it equal to 0. The very first thing we're going to check is 2, because 2 is a prime number. So if it's 2, if x is less than 2, return false. Because actually 2 is a prime number. Why would we? Oh, it's because it's 1. It's not less than or equal to. So if x is exactly equal to 2, return true. So this is just some semantics based off prime numbers. So now what do we do? So right now we're testing to see, starting at 1 and incrementing it based on our parameter plus 1, if x divided by any number before it, could be 1,000,000 all the way up to 1,000,001, and every number that comes before it, if that is exactly equal to 0, increase the count by 1. So if the count is less than 3, I don't understand why this count is here. I guess this is maybe just so you don't check all the values. Plus equals 1. So we're checking for the value as we increment it. Count, if count is less than 3, return true. Okay, so I think what's going on here is eventually, if it's a prime number, 3 is more than enough. We could probably change that to 2 or 1. And I think that's what the gentleman was thinking when he did this. So let's keep it going here. Define a function called reverse that takes a string text and returns the string in reverse. For example, reverse ABCD should return DCBA. Alright, so def reverse takes in some text as a parameter. You may not use reversed or -1 to help you with this. You may get the string containing special. You may get a string containing special characters, for example, blah blah blah. Consider how you would loop through text starting with the last character for the first. Alright, so we're getting a string, and then we'll say for I in text. So we're going to parse through it first. For I in text. Okay, so the issue I'm having right now is I don't remember how to decrement properly, because we want to start at the end. So all we have to do is go backwards and then restore it. So let's see what someone says. See what function. Yeah, the I minus 1 for. So we're going to create a blanket, and then we're going to return it. So plus the text, length of the text, minus I minus 1. Or in range of length dot text for I in range. Okay, got it. So I was thinking there was a default function, but it's probably this reverse that they're talking about. So we are going to create an empty string, and then in there we're going to just parse through this like we would for I in text, and then we're going to say x is equal to x plus the length of text minus I minus 1. And the reason we minus the 1 is because the length is always 1 more than the index variable. So we're going to, as this is increasing, we're just going to be subtracting it, and then we're going to minus an additional 1, and then we're going to return x, and that should reverse it. Unsupported type here. Code through unsorted for str and str. Oh. I still have to figure out what the difference is with these brackets. What does our example have here? Oh, text. The length of text. Text plus the length of text. Okay, so this is actually a number. I see what's going on here. So text, length of text. So this is our index variable, and this is our string that we're taking it for. Alright, I think I got the brackets wrong again. Yeah. I did say that we're going to have to be working a little harder on this one. So let's see here. Code through an unsupported operand type for string and a text minus I minus 1. Why are we getting that? And it's because of that. So x is equal to x. Invalid syntax. Okay, x is equal to x plus our text with the index of the length of the text minus I minus 1. Oh, one extra bracket there. Am I going insane? So x, here's the text for range and length of text. Now that should be fine. Text, length of text, minus I minus 1 brackets. Alright, let's just do this. Alright, so let's take a look here. So we set it equal to an empty string. That's good. We set our function up for I in range length dot text for I in text. See if this works. So we're still getting operand type. We're parsing through and we're trying to get it. No. Invalid literal for in base 10. All right. So apparently for I to parse this, we need, because we're treating I here. Oh. Alright, we can't do this like this because I is actually a character from the string. It's not an integer. So what we could do, if we wanted to change it, is set a count equal to 0. And we'll just do it like this, minus count. And then count equals count plus 1. So let me go over what I just did real quick. So we could have changed for loop to the way the whoever code it was that we used before, but we created a blank string. We then created a count variable, and then for each character in the string, we are going to take our empty string, set it equal to itself because we want it to continue. Then we're going to take our text, get the length of that, and then we're going to subtract it as we move back. So I hope that makes sense. And then we have to increase count to do it properly. All right, so define a function called anti-val. So def anti_val takes one string text, returns the text all the vowels involved. For example, hey you should return hy. Don't count y as a vowel. Make sure to look. All right, so we'll say for I in text, and then we'll say if I is equals to let's do this. If I is not equal to a, God, how do you? I know there's got to be a way to do check CFL. Check CFL. You can do C and AC. Yes, let's do it like this. All right. So if I is not equal to for I in text. Oh, yeah, that's what I'm thinking. How do we append it to do all of these? So, because I don't want to. All right, let's just do it like this to see what happens. So if I does not contain this isn't gonna work. I don't know why I made this. So same thing. We're first off we need to create a word. Set it equal to blank, and then if I is not in there, we'll set word equal to word plus I. So, and then we need to return word. So let's just run this. It should work, but it's not gonna work like we need it to. So instead of writing out all these if statements and ands, let's see if someone has a better way of just calling one if statement. And that was 8 of 15. Is that anti-val? Yeah. Return dot join for I in text if I dot lower not in if I, let's try not in there you go. So perfect. So that's exactly what we were looking for. So we create the function with the parameter. We create a empty string variable. We parse through the string and we say if any of the string is not contained in here, add it. So let's go ahead and just call it, and we'll do Pizza Poker Guy and see what's going on here so we can see that it works. Don't forget to put the parentheses. Except it doesn't print. Alright. And bam. So there you go. Pizza, poker, goo. And I'll be right back. So it looks like we're doing someone's Scrabble score. So define a function called Scrabble score. Alright. Def Scrabble score that takes in a parameter word and returns the equivalent Scrabble score for the word. So, I guess the first thing we can do is create a score is equal to 0. Assume your input is only one word containing no spaces or punctuations. As mentioned, no need to worry about score multipliers. Your function should work even if the letters you get are uppercase, lowercase, or mixed. Alright. And assume that you're only given. Alright, so what we're going to do here is something similar to what we did. And so the first thing we want to do is create a for loop. We're going to say for I in word. So we're going to get the letters. I is equal to I dot lower. Is that right? So dot lower? We'll find out. There's definitely a way to lowercase it. And then we'll say, so this is our I, this is what we need. Alright, so we'll say we'll say score is equal to score plus word I. And that'll give us our int, turn score. Now let's, actually, since we don't, normally you would do this, but because all these letters are lowercase in this case, let's not mess with it. Your code through a string indices must be integers on str. So for I in word, alright, so we return the score is equal to, oh, gotcha. Alright, so we do this, and then this needs to be an int. I think that's what's going on here. So wait, what's there? One more time. So does your Scrabble score function take exactly one argument, a string? Your code through string indices must be integers, not str. So this is parsing through the string for I in word. Now we set the score. Yeah, this should work right. So this is the key, and this should give us our value. So we're obviously doing something fundamentally wrong. So let's just check this out real quick. It's probably something really, really small. For W in word. Yeah, I don't think it needs a while loop. Yeah. Total. For letter in word, total, or in our case, score. Oh shit. Okay, so that's probably where our error is right now. You see how they use total and we use score? I didn't even see that this was called score. So, that's my fault for not paying attention. So we have to set total is equal to total. Total. And this is actually score. Because this needs to parse through here, not through here. I dot lower. Oh my god, how do you call the dot lower again? Letter dot lower. That's what we have. Alright. So let's compare. Make sure we're doing everything correctly here. So we're good there. Our for loop looks good. We're going to set total equals equal to total plus score letter dot lower. Oh, here it is. Return total. Back with our score mistake. So we were on the right path. We just had some simple errors that were very confusing because our naming convention was bad. Alright, so write a function called censor. This one's taking 2 parameters, so it's really going to be hard. Text word. It should return the text with the word you choose replaced with asterisks. Alright. So, we'll say, for example, assume your input strings won't contain any punctuation. Actually should correspond to the letters. Alright, so asterisk equals and we'll say for I in range, no, I'll do it like this. Count is equal to 0. This is probably bad convention, but I like doing it this way. For I in word, count equals count plus 1. So we're finding the length of the word, and then we're going to say asterisks. Asterisks. Actually, that's a stupid word. Replace. Replace is better. Replace word is even better. So replace word is equal to replace word plus the asterisk. All right. Let me get rid of that actually. Now we need an if statement. Say if, so the text is the whole thing, we want to replace the word. Alright, so if text contains, is contains, dot contains, you can use string.split, remember, to help you. I don't believe we've used string.split. Yeah, I'm with this guy. Please explain what this does and why it's important. Exercise 10. The split function takes the input string and turns it into a list. Creates a new item in the list for every space in the string. So print chocolate would get chocolate, but if I put I like chocolate dot split, I would simply get okay. So we'll say how do we want to do this? So we'll say text equals text dot split. So that's going to break it up, and then we're going to say if for I in text, if I is equal to word, I is equal to replace word. No, text I. No. How do we want to do this? So if that is equal, if I is equals a word, so the text of I is equal to replace word. And then we return text. I feel like I made a lot of errors, but we'll find out right now. Does your censor function take exactly 2 arguments, a string text and a word to replace with asterisks, or code through list indices must be integers on str. So let's go with the find word, replace word. Replace word. We'll do this. Let's try and see if this does it. Dot join. Replace word. I don't think that's what they're saying. Must be. And then we'll say for I in text, if that word. So for the value in text, because this should split it up into a list of words now. Say if this is equal to our word. So if text I. Alright, so I seem to be having an error here. The phone call. But here we are. I found a quick example of someone who is just doing it so much better than I did. And we're just going to go ahead and use this because it's perfect. So apparently to split the text, we don't actually have to set it to a variable. This will automatically store it in there for this function anyhow. So text2 is basically just a blanket variable that we were doing. And then they use replace. I don't remember them bringing up replace. So this is kind of, maybe we did in an earlier section. I don't remember using replace, but this is exactly what we need. So we're saying our new word from our split text, we want to replace the word with the length of the text. So with the asterisk. So, and this, the length is just however long that word is. So that's it. I mean, it's pretty simple if you know the replace method. Or the split one they've brought up in this one, apparently. So we're struggling through a little bit here, but they did say it was going to be a little bit harder. Alright, so define a function called count. So def count takes in a 2-parameter sequence and item. Return the number of times the item occurs in the list. So, alright, so we'll set item inventory equal to 0. For example, 1 appears 3 times. Let's see. But you should do it the long way for practice. Oh my god, this guy sounds like one of my instructors. It's like, you can use sets. We want you to make a set. But don't use the built-in set thing that you'll use the rest of your life. We just want you to do it the hard way for practice. Alright, what are we doing here? So inventory is equal to 0. And then we'll say return the number of times item occurs in the list. Alright, so say if for, we need a for, we need an if. Alright, we'll say for. So sequence is a list. So we'll say for I in sequence. I being the item. And we'll say if I is equal to item. Inventory equals inventory plus 1. And take out that if statement. And then return inventory. I think that should work. Cool. So just go over this real quick. We take in a list with a string, and we're saying, or I guess in theory it could be a number. We're saying for the item in the list, for the object, for the thing in the list, if that thing is the same as the item, increase our inventory by 1 and at the end return it. So define a function called Purify. Takes in a list of numbers and removes all numbers from the list. For example, 1, 2, 3. Okay. So Purify takes in a list of numbers, so we'll just do list. Don't do that. We'll do nums. Excuse me, allergies. Alright, we'll do for I in nums. And we'll say if I modulo 2 is not equal to 0. So we'll do I modulo 3. Because if it's modulo 3, no, I modulo 2 is not equal to 0. Actually, we'll do equal to 0, and we'll create a new list. Updated, and we'll set that equal to empty. We'll do, and we'll say updated dot append I, and then return updated. I believe that should work. To create a function called Purify, your code through a global name purifies, not defend def. If I modulo 2 is equal to 0. There you go. Alright, so we define our function, we take in a list, we create an empty list. We say for each number in our list, if that number is even, we want to add it to our new empty list, and then at the end we return it. So def product takes a list of integers as input and returns the product of all the elements in the list. So we'll just do inventory again. Actually, I think we did nums last time. Nums, and we'll say don't worry about the list being empty. The function should return. Alright, so we'll say we'll just do a count equals 0. Actually, sum a keyword. Sum? Yeah, it is. Alright, so count or total. Total is a better word. Total equals 0. We'll say for I in nums. Total equals set this fucker to 1. So always get 0. So total equals total times I. Return total. That should be it. So we take in a list of numbers. We can't set this to 0 because anything multiplied by 0 will be 0 and it'll just always be 0. So we set it to 1 so it doesn't change anything. So we then just multiply by each of the values and we get our total product. Alright, we're making progress now, man. I think this will be only an hour-long video. Alright, so we define a function called remove _ duplicates. and then for example should return 1 and 2. So this is going to take in a list. We'll just do nums again. So we're going to create a new list, so we'll just call it inventory. We'll set that equal to a blanket one, and eventually what we want to do is return inventory. So far that should work. It just would return an empty list at this, but what we want to do is for I in nums. So we want to go through this one, and then we need a if. We actually need another for loop. We're going to say for I in inventory, for I in inventory. Actually, this needs to be different. We'll do for j in inventory. And now we do an if statement. Excuse me. If I is not equal to j, so we'll say if, so we iterate through 1, and if it's not in the j, so if I is not equal to inventory equal to j, I think this is going to mess it up. Inventory dot append I. I don't believe this will work because this is only checking one thing. I think it needs to check the whole list. So let's just go ahead and see. So remove duplicates, return empty instead of 4 or 5. So if I is not equal to j, append I, let's see here. So if I is not in inventory, inventory.append I. Alright. So they say A not in B. So if I is not in inventory. There you go. Okay. So the not in again, which I didn't bring up except we used it in here, and this was the only section that's kind of bothering me, is that either they didn't, I just don't remember, or it's not in here. But basically we create same thing we've been kind of doing, is just creating empty ones, and then we're running through our list and we're saying if this is not in our inventory, add it to the end, and then return it. So cool. So last but not least, we are going to create def a median. This is probably in some sort of math function already. Takes a list, so we'll just do nums again. For example, median 1, 1, 2 should return 1. The list can be of any size. Alright, so if you don't remember where the median is, because it's been a while since you messed with algebra, median is the middle number in a sorted sequence. Oh god. Alright, so we're going to need to do a first thing. We're going to need to get the length of nums. So we'll say length is equal to len of nums. Alright. So that's going to give us the total amount of numbers. So if we have 5, we want 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We want the third one. So and now we're going to say if length modulo 2 is exactly equal to 0. So if we have 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, we need those two middle ones. So that's the harder one. Else we want to return the middle function. So the length divided by 2. So if length divides, so we have 5, that'd be the third one. Else we want to return something else, and here we want to return So the length. So if the length is equal to 0, we need to add the middle number. So let's create a new variable here, and we'll say mid1 is equal to length divided by 2 plus 1, and mid2 is equal to length divided by 2 plus 1, minus 1. And then we want to return mid1 plus mid2. And we want to divide that by 2. And this needs to be num. Alright. Or nums rather. So before we move on, because I believe I may have made a mistake, let's review what we're doing here. So we need to return the average of the. So if we have 4, we need to return the average of that. That's cool. Mid1 plus mid2 divided by 2. That's good. Now we have the length of it, so it's 4. There's 4 there. So we need to get the middle numbers. To get the middle number from the top, you would divide by 2. So in this case, we need to get 1 to the left and 1 to the right. So if we have 5, so 6 is 3 minus 1 is 2. Okay, this should work because we already do an if statement here. So else we need to get the middle number. So else length modulo 2 is odd. So else it's odd, and we need the middle indices. All right, let's try this. So how do we get the middle one? Else return nums length plus 1. Wait, no. So that's the length. So we have 5, and we need the third one. So plus 1. Let's try this. This makes sense in my brain. I don't know if this makes sense mathematically. So we have 5, but if we divide that by 2, we get 2.5. That doesn't work. But if we add 1 and we divide it by 2, we'll still get the third variable. Yeah, there's no way. List index out of range, median 1. So let's take this else out and see if this first one works. Median 1, return none. Alright, so I think our else statement is what's going on here. So, did we end it properly? Yes, we did. Back that up. Alright, so we need to return the middle number, our 3. So we have the length. So the length is, oh my god, I think it's minus 1 divided by 2. Return 4. Median, return 4 instead of 4.5. So this is, I think this is good here. This is not. So our length is 1 greater. All right. Let's see a hint. So integer division, wonderful. All right, so our we get our length, we divide it by 2, we add 1 because we want to see that middle number. Actually, this is wrong also. If it's a 5 and a 5, it should return 5, not 4. Alright, let's see what's going on here. That's too much code to look at. Yeah, so I'd like to work it out more, but considering that that's wrong, I'm not gonna mess around with that right now. So median, here we go. Oh, I don't need to add 1. I just need to minus the 1. So that's what they're saying is going on there. Returned 5 instead of 4. It should return 5. It fucking should return 5. Oh god, get out of here, you web tune-up nonsense. Alright, so mid 1 plus mid 2 divided by 2. And then here it's just divided by 2. Alright, should sorted list. Oh god, we need to sort our list. Alright, no, it's not sorted. I didn't realize that, so. That's part of why we were getting wrong. This whole thing got fucked up because we didn't do the sorted. Object has no attribute sorted. What am I doing wrong? Sorted underscore list. Nums equal nums, and how do we call sorted? Actually sorted nums. The code could not run to the end. Return 4 instead of 4.5, so it should return. God, our whole code got messed up right here. Let's just go ahead and copy and put this in and see what's going on here. Because I think my code beforehand should have worked, but... So, in this case, we get the length, we sort it. Sorted list equals sorted numbers. Okay, so we're saying if length modulo 2 is equal to 0, good. Sorted list. So our nums is still our sort. So we already did that. Then we do the length. Jar nums. Divided by 2, that's right. Divided by 2 minus 1, that's also right. Return. Divided by 2. God damn it, if that's it, that's gonna drive me nuts. Return nums, length of nums, divided by 2. That could be it. I've had this issues before in Java where... Okay, so let me explain what our error was right here and the reason we got 4 instead of 4.5. Because it may not be apparent to everybody. So, sometimes, depending on the language, if you don't use the dot point 0, like if you don't put a decimal point on it, it will typically round down or round up. So I believe that's what was going on here. So let's take that out and do this one more time. And you can see right here we got a 4 instead of a 4.5. So this 2.0 is what was throwing us off right here. So it's it's one of the good reasons for watching this video, because you'd probably have no idea what the issue was and be searching for it. But that's what's going on right there. But anyhow, hopefully the next video will go a little bit smoother. This one ran a little bit long. But I actually kind of liked it because we had to do a little more work than just type some stuff out. So up next, we're going to be doing exam statistics. So we'll probably be messing with lists and grades and probably rewriting some of our own average type of things. So I'll see you in the next video, and as always, comments, constructive criticism, and anything WordPress related that you'd want answered, go ahead and just leave me a comment, and I'll see you guys in the